And welcome back to the Texas Only State Challenge, where we're headed into our 4th season. No other state-only challenge has had to go past 4 seasons. The rule is we have to win the Super Bowl by the end of season 5 or prior to complete the challenge. If we don't, we fail. So this offseason is important. The draft class isn't great. There's maybe 2 players that I think we should bring in. One of them could be a starter, other might not be. We'll see as we go along, so this might be a shorter off season. And if it is, we'll get through the first half of the regular season, all included in this same episode. If it's a longer off season, it'll be like usual. It's just the off season. The next episode will be the first half of season 4. So let's start off by doing what would only make sense for a team that has consistently struggled to get above 500. And that will be firing our coordinators. In real life, that probably would have happened after the first season, maybe even the second season, but after the third, for sure. So they are both gone. As for our offense, we're looking for a scheme that is more of a vertical zone run. Luis Ramirez as a vertical power run. Is there anyone who is a vertical zone run? That answer would be no. There are West Coast zone runs, but the closest thing that we have available to us would be the vertical power run. It's fairly close, so Luis Ramirez, welcome. As for our defense, we basically run a base 3-4, so any 3-4 guy would really be fine. There is Scott Anderson, who's a 3-4 under, and Jackson Pierce, who is a 3-4 storm. Bobby Moore is a disguise 3-4. There is a base 3-4 in Earl Brooks. And I think we're going to go with Earl Brooks. Like I said, we pretty much run a base 3-4, so I think that'll work out just fine for us. He also will be bringing in 68 staff points, which we now have 332 of. So our offense and defensive coordinators, their talent trees are about to get fully unlocked. Now, in terms of some possible XP for our players, we'll run through the Pro Bowl roster really quick. Quarterback's going to be Jones, Prescott, Jones, Jackson, Burrow, and Freeman. So our rookie quarterback did not make it, although he had a pretty good season. Running backs, Barkley, Hall, Pacheco. I know he's the Chiefs running back. I don't know how it's pronounced. Jacobs, Harris, and Chubb. Fullbacks being Hughes-Check, Fowler, Gilliam, and Horvath. Receivers are Smith, Beckham, Hopkins, Smith-Schuster, Burks, and St. Brown, who ruined our day last episode. Brown, Godwin, Moore, Myers, Chase, and Rogers. So again, none of ours. Tight ends, Schultz, also ruined our day. Freiermuth, Uzma, Bellinger, Hawkinson, and McBride. The left tackles, Thomas, Mailata, Brown, and Ekwonu. Left guards, Batonio, McCoy after he leaves our team, Nelson and Tooney. Centers are Ragnow, Humphrey, Linderbaum, and Jensen. Right guards, Martin, Smith, Lindstrom, and Corbett. With right tackles being Wirfs, O'Neal, Sewell, and Johnson. So none of our offensive line. Left ends, Lawrence, Russo, Clowney, and Matabuick. I know that's not correct. I'm not even going to look it up. I'm awful with some of these names. Right ends, Williams, Jarrett, and Donald. With DTs being Ed Oliver made it, so there's our first guy. Jones, Armstead, Ed Oliver, and Vita Vea, as well as Reeder and Payne. Left outside linebacker, Watt, Chubb, Hunter, Allen. Inside linebacker, Campbell, Holcomb, Vander Esch, and Tavai. With right outside linebacker being Parsons, Walker, Highsmith, and Mack. Corners are going to be Surtain, Humphrey, Elam, Jackson, Moore, Ramsey, Ward, and Newsome. Safeties, Bates, McKinney, Curl, and Hufunga. Johnson, Blackman, Petrie, and James. So no DTs for us. Kickers are going to be Dickinson, Cole, Carlson, and Cook. With the returners being Arlington, Stephenson, Valdez-Scantling, and Winthrop. So we had 1. So not a great showing for us. But how about yearly awards? Lamar Jackson wins MVP, with Coach of the Year going to Robert Saleh. Again, I'm awful with these names. In the AFC, Offensive Player of the Year is Josh Jacobs. Defensive Player of the Year is Myles Garrett. Offensive rookie is Mitchell Townsend. Hopefully that moves him up to a superstar dev. That would be great. Marquise Sampson was at 5 and no one else for us. Defensive rookie is Howie Stein, who was a guy I think we possibly could have drafted, but we ended up not, so maybe we should have. But Amari McQueen made the list at least at 10. Best quarterback was Lamar Jackson with Townsend down at 6. Best running back, Josh Jacobs. Best receiver was Chris Godwin. Best O-line, Tevin Jenkins. Best D-line, Myles Garrett. Ed Oliver was at 10. Best linebacker, Daniil Hunter. Best DB, Darius Slay Jr. And best kicker was Sam Sloman with Justin Tucker at 4. If you want to see what the NFC looked like, I will go through them pretty quickly. You could pause if you want to look further, but since they're obviously none of our players, we don't care as much. And I do really wish that they would just combine the best D-line and linebacker, or make it actual linebackers, because I'm tired of seeing edge rushers win best linebacker. And after winning Rookie of the Year, Mitchell Townsend does move up to a superstar dev. That could be really big for our offense. Now, what trait do we give him? And I think we're going to go with quick draw. Passers with this ability have faster passing animations when they are throwing under pressure. The other option I was thinking was when playing from behind, players with this ability can easily enter the zone. We'll start with quick draw. We'll see if we want to change that later on. And can we actually unlock the second one? Apparently we can. So yeah, we'll go ahead and do both of those. Comeback as well as quick draw. And the Super Bowl champions were the Denver Broncos, beating the Giants 35-24. Jared Goff was the Super Bowl MVP. And yeah, it's for sure, because the yearly awards, it only shows one player from the AFC or the NFC. Mitchell Townsend was the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Also important to note that the Giants have been to back-to-back Super Bowls. They won last year. They were not in it the first season. So the Giants are looking pretty good. So we have 11 players to negotiate with and $104 million in cap space to do so. Justin Tucker has not retired. I'm perfectly fine bringing him back at whatever he wants. We'll just bump this up a little bit. 1 year, $5 million. He's not interested in signing. We'll probably re-sign him in open free agency. Just might cost a little bit more. Ed Oliver played really well in his new role as a DT. We'll look to try to bring him back, and we'll just increase these numbers a little bit because we don't want to lose out, and we have plenty of cap space to do so. 4-year deal there. He'll stick around. Now, Danny Gray doesn't have much interest in coming back, and he hasn't really gotten much play time. So instead of overpaying him here, we'll come back to him in open free agency. Very similar with Jalen Darden. He was a rotational guy for us. He could very well come back, but we'll keep it open. Traven Howard was just a backup for us, not looking to bring him back currently. Taquan Graham, similar situation as the receivers, is just a backup. We'll see. Kingsley Keke, we brought him in. He plays a couple different spots for us as a backup. He might come back as well. Andrew Beck, I really don't feel like we used a lot of fullback, so we may end up not bringing him back. Jermaine Ifedi is regressing to below a 70, so not interested in bringing him back currently. Matthew Adams has been rotational, same kind of story. Blake Lynch, really interested in staying with the team. He's pretty much a very well-rounded backup for us, so if he'll take this deal, fantastic. Apparently he will look for a new team though, so that is free agency. Or at least our closed free agency. We need to try to bring back Justin Tucker, maybe some of these other guys. And into open free agency we go, where I'm taking a different approach. We're just going to bring in the best available players possible, trying to bring back Justin Tucker. We're going after Christian Kirk. In the last episode I talked about I don't think the receiving group is a problem, but we need to beat the challenge. We're going into season 4, so we're bringing in the best guys available, including the one guy who I could not pronounce his name. We're trying to bring in him. Maybe he could help out on the defensive line. We're trying to bring in an offensive guy as well. And Madden's broke as usual. It says I have 5 active negotiations. I only have 4 people on my board. I can't do anything to change that. But what I do see is we do need to raise the offer here for Justin. And after doing so, we now have the highest bid for all of these players. So let's evaluate for our first round here. All but Justin decide. Do they all decide to come here? They do. So Justin Tucker returns. We bring in Christian Kirk, and we bring in a new offensive lineman in Dan Moore Jr. Does he start? Who knows, but we're gonna bring him in. And for the next set of guys, still in the first round, still trying to bring in Justin. We are still in first place for him. Also trying to bring in Spencer Burford, Jalen Darden trying to bring him back, and a Landon Roberts trying to bring him back. I don't remember if he was on the team with us last year, but he has been on our team. We just need some linebacker depth. So we'll evaluate these deals as well. And I think all of them do end up joining. Justin Tucker's in, Kirk is in. We do get Justin, the other Justin. We do get Spencer Burford. Dan Moore is in. Jalen Darden returns, and we do get a Landon Roberts. So we can find another 5 more guys for one more evaluation period. And now for the third and final set of players. Try to bring in Peyton Turner, another edge guy for us, perhaps. Denzel Mims would be his first time on the roster. Trying to bring back Matthew Adams and Blake Lynch. We'll evaluate, and all but one, I assume, join. Matthew Adams is the only one that's holding out for more money. And then did we end up getting everyone? Mims does join, Roberts joins, and Blake Lynch joins. So I feel like we're pretty much already done with free agency. We have 59 guys on roster currently. I don't think we need to bring anyone else in. So we'll sim on over to basically right before the draft, and we'll go through the mock draft, see if we need to trade up to secure the at least 2 guys that we think we want to go after in this draft. All right, let's talk a little bit about this draft. Kenny Hardison, the only guy on offense I think we need to draft, even want to draft, and he supposedly went down 51 spots, but his talent grade is higher than his projection. It does go up to around 2 to 3. Now, we do not have our first round pick, but we have all of our other picks, including a couple, I think, in the 3rd or 4th round, perhaps. So let's find out what all we know about Kenny Hardison. Not too bad in terms of bench reps, some decent amount of speed, change of direction, agility. I mean, solid around the board. And everything besides injury looks pretty good. Pass block finesse and run block finesse are a little low at a C, but I mean, that's not bad. I think he could very well be a solid guy. Do I think he takes over a starting spot? Not necessarily, but I like to have the guys available to possibly do that. Over on the defensive side, we have the opposite, where Alex Garfield started as a round 2 to 3. He's actually around 3 to 4, going down supposedly 18 spots throughout the course of the season. He is 21 years old, listed as a run stopper. His physicals, though, I mean, he's really strong, pretty fast, quick. I mean, he's a hell of an athlete. As for his skill set, though, listed as a run stopper, he has C, block shedding, with the finesse and power moves being B. I think he looks like he could be really good. I mean, he does miss out a little bit on some intangibles with C, awareness. D, injury, also a little bit of a concern. Tackling isn't fantastic, but he does have A, player X, so he seems like a very interesting player. The defensive line has been a struggle for us this entire series, so I think we need to make sure we get Garfield, potentially that offensive lineman as well. And I did go ahead and scout Frank Poole. I've talked about how I don't trust the outside linebackers, but I did my due diligence. He is 21 years old, 6'1", 227. I mean, he's definitely a cover archetype. He has some decent speed, okay bench reps. He actually has pretty good speed, I will say, as well as change of direction, agility, acceleration. His skill set, not good at shedding blocks, but supposedly really good at covering. Again, I don't trust it. A, awareness, though, is nice. He is around 3 to 4, so we have a lot of guys in that range. Pretty much all of the 3 that I'm interested in are in that range. The corner, we didn't end up finishing the scouting on because we know C-zone, C-press, B-man. I mean, could be a solid guy, but we don't need any more corners. Our cornerback group has been good since the first draft. And with that being the case, these mock drafts really aren't going to help us out much because it's just going to go down to the 32nd pick. It's not going to show us where the guys we're looking at going are supposed to go. So we're just ready to go ahead and jump into this draft class. We might move up a little bit just to make sure that we're getting our guys. Might overdraft them a little bit, but there's only 2 guys to really draft for us, maybe 3. So let's try to get the job done. And I believe last episode I did say I would expect we would be picking with the 12th or 13th pick. And I pretty much nailed it. We do pick 13th. We traded away our first round pick to bring in John Franklin Myers, so we don't have that. But now that we're in the draft, we can see a little bit further. as to where we think some of our guys might end up going. So when it comes to our targets, Kenny Hardison is a round 3 to 4 projection. We pick with just one pick in each of the second and third rounds. So we need to be smart. Those 2 fourth round picks we might need to use to move up perhaps if we want to get all 3. Or we could play things a little tricky, a little iffy. Kenny Hardison is a round 2 to 3. I would imagine he would be available with our second round pick. The DT Alex Garfield, that's where things get a little bit more concerning. In terms of the overall board, he is the second defensive tackle on the board. The guard is third. Either way, I know I want to go ahead and get through the first round because I don't imagine either of these guys going in the first round. And then we'll go from there. And as we do, fly on over to the start of the second round. Kenny Hardison is still on the board, and so is Alex Garfield. Both of them still there. In terms of the overall board, where do they fall? So they don't actually have Garfield going for a full other round. So we should be good with him to go ahead and get on over to our next pick, which is just 13 picks away. They do have that outside linebacker listed at 62, which is higher than the guard, I believe, unless I passed him. And I didn't. He's a little bit lower. So we should be good with at least our next 2 picks, and then maybe we trade up with the 4th round picks to secure these guys and trade away the rest of our picks, or maybe see if there's some late round talent. So let's do just that. We'll skip along here till our next pick, and hopefully we don't see our guy go. A tackle goes to from Oklahoma goes to the Packers. A safety out of Florida goes to the Ravens. San Francisco picks up a running back from Clemson. Steelers, a tackle out of UCLA. Rams, they go with another tackle, this one out of Miami. Dolphins pick up a Colorado tight end. Bears, they select a left end from Florida State. Bengals go with a cornerback out of Central Michigan. Bucks select a running back out of Oklahoma. We are a couple picks away. UFC receiver goes to the Commanders. Falcons pick up a right outside linebacker from Michigan. Now we are on the clock, and I feel like it would be safer to go with a player projected to go higher than his talent rating, which would be the defensive tackle. Again, he's a round 2 to 3 projection, looked more like a round 3. I just want to make sure we end up getting these guys. So Alex Garfield, we're going to pick him up. Might be a bit early. I don't care. We don't have that many people available to us. We'll pick him up. Normal dev, 89 strength with 79 speed, 78 jumping, and 83 acceleration with 75 agility. And I'll go ahead and skip through individually till our next pick, and hopefully our guard doesn't go. And we're just a few picks away. Commanders go with a running back out of BYU. Falcons go with left guard out of Oregon State, which I believe is the left guard right before our left guard. So let's make sure we pick him up here. Sitting atop of the left guards, Kenny Hardison. Listed as a round 3 to 4, but actually has a talent grade of a 2 to 3. We'll go ahead and pick him up. And he is a hidden dev with 89 strength, 71 speed, 81 acceleration, and 71 agility. Now, in terms of Frank Poole, who I don't necessarily need as a starter, but at least as some depth, possibly, he's expected to go in 18 picks. So I feel like with all of what we have, he's listed as around 3 to 4. We're in mid 3. Might as well just try to trade up and pick him. And then we could just sim on through the draft. If we have a actual draft pick available, we could see if there's anyone. If not, we trade it away. But I just think that's the smarter move to make. All right, Raiders, how about 2 4th round picks and a 7 for your third? Close. Would the 6 get us there? And that answer is yes. So 2 4th round picks and a 6 to move up to the exact following pick. So we'll have 2 picks in a row, including the last one we just made. We're going to go ahead and pick up the linebacker. Is he going to burn me again? It's possible. But at this point, I'm just trying to bring in the best possible players from each draft class. And he seems to be the next best one. Plus, he's also sitting atop the right outside linebacker board. So we're going to take him. Frank Poole, 21 years old, out of Texas A&M. We'll see if he could actually cover. He's a normal dev with 83 speed, 71 strength, 88 acceleration, 87 agility, and 79 change of direction and jumping. And we don't pick again until the 5th round, so I'm gonna go ahead and skip forward. And if we have anybody that I wanna pick, I'll show you. If not, we'll just trade away the rest of our picks. And we ended up working out a trade in the state of Texas with the Dallas Cowboys. We're gonna send them the rest of our picks this year, 2 5s and a 7, for a 4 and a 7 next year. Now, hopefully we won't actually have to use those picks next year, because we would have won the Super Bowl in season 4. That would tie California's record. I don't want to say record, but tie what California did winning it in season 4. At least we have some more picks in case, or if we need to make some trades this season, we have more ammunition to do so. But let's find out how good our 3-player draft class was by taking a look at these overalls. And honestly, not too bad. I don't think anyone's going to start, but we have some decent guys out here. Let's start with Alex Garfield at DT, maybe. We'll see where he best fits. Like I said, 79 speed with, where is his strength? 93 with the coaching boost. Does have 76 power moves, 73 block shedding, with finesse being 71. So definitely going to be on the outside, not a DT. Where he plays, I don't know. If he gets a rotation spot, I don't know, but we'll definitely see. The number 53 is definitely going to change, though. As for the hidden dev offensive lineman, Kenny Hardison, what do you look like? He's a big dude who has some pretty decent power games. At least would be a rotational guy. If someone has to come out, he could definitely come in. We'll take a look at all the offensive linemen at the end of looking at these players, and we'll see if we end up actually wanting to get rid of someone or end up wanting to start some of these younger guys. But now the question with Frank Poole. A, zone coverage and man coverage. Did I get burned again? 72 zone coverage with 62 man. That is actually good. That is what the A rating should look like. So I'm glad we ended up making that trade to pick him up. He will definitely be our number 3 linebacker. He will jump ahead of, it was Amari McQueen, who was a draftee for us last year that was an outside linebacker, or last draft class. There was an outside linebacker with the A coverage that ended up being like a 63. So Frank Poole, you've redeemed the outside linebackers for now. So as this roster stands, we have a lot of different receiving talent. Christian Kirk actually comes in as our highest overall. Evans, I think, maybe regressed a little bit. He's down to an 89, and that's with some boosts. Devin Duvernay will still be playing in the slot. So it looks like we'll see a decreased role here for Eric Ezukanma in this next season. Really enjoyed watching him play. He might be a candidate for us to try to bring in the Commanders Replacement Squad series. I feel like that might be a decent spot for him to get a few more looks than what we've had here. At tight end, nothing really changes. But now for the offensive line, we have a lot of different players. We've brought in a lot of different guys. Eric Moore was one of the guys we brought in open free agency this episode. He's 2 overall less, but is 7 years younger. That's how math works. Speed, pretty similar. Strength, pretty similar. Awareness, pretty similar. A little bit less of pass blocking for sure, but a bit of a slightly better run blocker. They're honestly very even, and there's not really much other players to trade for, so we might just have a really stacked line group, and some players might end up getting cut so we get down to the correct size. Hardison, who obviously we just drafted, he is 6 overall less, but a lot younger. In terms of speed, much better. Acceleration is better. Agility is better. Change of direction is better. Strength is lower, but it's going to be with Will Hernandez being a 99. Awareness is lower. Pass block is definitely lower. Run block is about even. So makes things interesting as to who we're actually going to end up starting. Maybe we shift some guys around. Honestly, the line we've had is they're pretty well balanced across the board. It's hard to find someone that will end up getting replaced. Terrence Steele, a little bit lower on the pass block, but really good in the run block. We did sign Spencer Burford, and he's pretty similar. He's not as aware, but it would be, I mean, we have a really good backup group for sure with the offensive line. And AJ Boss, how are your ratings looking comparatively to Ellison, who started last year? Run block is a lot better, at least in power. So perhaps we give AJ Boss the start this next year over Ellison. He is only a star dev, so I think he regressed losing a superstar because he didn't play. Yeah, he lost his superstar dev. So that is unfortunate. Probably should have started him last year then. So maybe we don't end up changing, or we just see who has the hot hand. As for the defensive line, I mean, we have all the different kind of players you would want. We obviously traded for Franklin Myers last season, and he definitely has the better ratings here compared to Justin. If he is going to get a start, it would be over at the right-hand side. So let me just throw him over there. And at that right-hand side, he is the highest overall, very close with Omenahu. If we compare the two, you have a little bit of more speed here with Justin, a little less acceleration, much less agility, less change of direction with more strength. Awareness is about even, a lot more play rec, much less power moves. In fact, his moves in general are worse than what you have in Omenahu, but he does have much better block shedding. So I think what we would end up doing is very similar to what we did last year, but with Clemens. Clemens was the starter at right end in the base packages, and Omenahu was our edge rusher. I think we'll do the same thing, but Justin would be the run stopper version, and then Omenahu would still have that edge rush. Now, we do have the rookie DT in Garfield that will need to get moved over, and I'm thinking... let's see, is a 75. Where might he get on the field a little bit more? I'm thinking perhaps over at left end. So let's move him over there and compare. So at left end, he actually goes down to a 73. So let's compare him and Belfort. Belfort, you're going to have a little bit more speed, a little bit more acceleration and agility, change of direction. Much less strength, though, with Belfort. Awareness is a lot better with Belfort. Play recognition, definitely in favor of Garfield. Power moves in favor of Garfield. So he's more balanced compared to Belfort. So in base packages, it would probably go Franklin Myers, Garfield. And then in edge rush situations, Franklin Myers, Belfort. Probably the best kind of situation we could get with them. Now for the linebackers, Frank Poole, moved him over to left because that's where he would get a start. Adams will just be a backup. I want the younger guys playing. So Poole will be getting the start there alongside Daniel Mathis, and our technically not highest overall linebacker, but has been the guy for us at the linebacker spot throughout this series, in Terrell Bernard. So the linebacker group does improve a little bit. Cornerback group still looking really good. JT Woods will get his second season under the start. I thought he was solid for us last year. And Donovan Wilson still up in the 80s. He's looking good. Saunders is improving pretty well and could potentially take the spot of Donovan Wilson if we go into a fifth year and Wilson ends up regressing a lot. And plus, Justin Tucker returns, so we're good in the kicking game. Dixon's also been solid for us. So that is the roster. It also appears that we don't have a lot of picks in this next draft class, being a second and 2/3. So it's a good thing we ended up making that trade. And I think what we're going to do instead of going through any games is we're just going to take care of the house cleaning duties before we jump into the start of the season next episode. So that way, that episode will just be about gameplay and not about any of the other things we need to take care of. So we'll start off by needing to get this roster down to the proper size. Now, Cole White has been on our practice squad for a couple of years. It's no longer giving me that option to send him to the practice squad, so it looks like we're going to have to make a cut. At running back, we have a fair few amount of guys with some low overall, 65 and 62, and Gerard Pleasant, who was with us last year. I would like to keep him around this year, so we will be sending Sergio Norman to the practice squad. And for now, we'll keep the 4 running backs. We have 7 receivers. I think that's solid for a very pass-heavy offense. Tight ends, don't need to do anything here. Going to keep the 3. Now for the offensive line, and this is where we're going to need to make some choices and get rid of some guys. We still have to get rid of 8 guys. A 25-year-old who is 64 overall. He's not going to develop into anything useful for us, so we will release him. I would like to keep Hitchcock as a developmental guy. He's also only 23, so currently we have 3 left guards. Now I think we end up cutting Trey Hopkins here and going with some of the younger, higher overall talent. At right guard, I would like to keep these 2. And at right tackle, I would like to keep these 2. And that at least gets us down to 6. We'll see if we need to make any more tough decisions. As for the defensive line, I would really like to keep all of 4 of these guys because they all play a role. Brendan Belfort is getting older at 25, only 74 overall. But for now, we're going to keep all of them. Nick Roman definitely headed to the practice squad. Now, we definitely have a lot of guys here at right end. Justin and Omenihu are starters. We do have Peyton Turner as a rotational guy. Michael Clemens, same thing. Still trying to develop Logan Hall and Hayden McCullough. We go ahead and send him to the practice squad. But I'm thinking the cut we make is actually going to be Michael Clemens. We'll go with the younger guy and everyone else is kind of in a role already. Clemens really isn't. So that's going to be a tough cut. We have 8 total edge rushers. In terms of the middle, we don't have that as many. And Donnell Moore, we are going to cut at 25 years old, 63 overall, not very good. So I think this will be good. Lynch is very low on the depth chart, but we still need at least 3 pure run stoppers. At left outside linebacker, I would like to keep all 3 because I don't think we have that many at the other spots. That's 6 total. And 7, yeah. 7 total linebackers I think is a good amount to keep. We still have to release 2 more players though. No one at corner, no one at free safety, no one at strong safety. Nor do we have multiple kickers or punters. So, we still have 2 people to get rid of. I think one of them is going to be Jeff Wilson. We're going to go with the power back of Andrew Ali backing up. And Gerard Pleasant, get a little bit more options in the receiving game, at least for the running backs. He has 99 speed. Need to see if that can amount to anything. So we will be cutting Jeff Wilson Jr. We will be taking on a good bit of penalty because he was also the first pick in this series. But it's just what has to be done. Spiller has taken over as the number 1. We have some other guys who we know can get the job done. So that leaves 1 more player we need to get rid of, and I'm assuming that's going to need to be on the offensive line. But who do we get rid of? We have just a lot of good guys across the board. The oldest, I think, is Jake Matthews. Do we have someone who could take over for him? Dan Moore Jr. is a really close overall. I think Jake Matthews is obviously still the better one, but we're going to have a little bit more balance with Moore. I think we have to make the tough decision here and move on from Jake Matthews. However, I think we could do that via a trade. So does anyone give us a little green flag next to his name? We have some yellows. We need a green. But no one gives us a green. So who has the best or the highest need at left tackle? And it looks like that would be the Lions. So, Lions, I need some draft picks. Will you give me a 3 and a 6? I think that would be fairly decent. They don't have much interest in Matthews, but they'll send a 3 and a 6, so I'll take it. So that gets us down to the roster limit we need, 53. Now just to enter the regular season and take a brief look at the next draft class. And our next draft class has a total of 33, with most of them being on the defense. We'll take a look at each individual position. There are some day 3 rated quarterbacks, a day 3 and potential undrafted running back. There is also a fullback, which is rare, so if we end up wanting to bring a fullback back after this season without a true fullback, that's a possibility. At receiver, there is a round 2 to 3 in Brian Gooden out of Houston. Also a day 3 in Julius Rudd. Now, I'm pretty sure that is the highest projected of any of the offensive players, including the offensive line, where there's really not much. Good thing we already have a pretty good offensive line. Defensive line, not much till you get to DT, where there is Rashard Wakefield, a true round 1 projection. He is a big boy, so an actual DT. We'll see if we need to go back to DT, maybe replace Poona Ford after this season. We also have some guys on roster that could do that as well. There's also a day 3 DT. At outside linebacker, there are some day 3s. Middle linebacker, another option up top with Kyle Clark out of Texas A&M. Being 6'3", 245, I would assume run stopper. There is Matt Wilford out of Texas Tech in round 2 to 3, who is 6'2", 230. I imagine he would be more of a size of a zone cover guy, or at least field general. There is around 3 to 4 in Craig Morgan, UTSA, and Caleb Pratt out of Texas Southern, day 3. Right outside linebackers, just some potential undrafteds. Another potential starting corner in Marcus Meredith, round 1 to 2. There is also a day 3 in Jay Stevenson out of Houston. Or is it Stephenson? Honestly, not sure. Again, don't think we need corners, but there's an option at least. Some potential undrafted safeties, and one potential draftable one in Alex Goddard at strong safety from Texas Tech, 6'1", 217. Could be solid. Could be a backup, but we're already pretty good in the backup department. No kickers or punters. So, doesn't look like there's going to be a lot to help out our offense. In fact, there looks to be next to nothing to help out our offense. I haven't really found a great draftable corner or a great draftable receiver in any of these draft classes, so that remains a mystery. But we will start next episode against formerly top of our division, Tennessee Titans. I don't think last year we beat them at all. Prior seasons, I don't know if we have. They might be a team that has dominated us throughout this series. We're going to need to show up big next season. Start of season 4. We have until the end of season 5. So we have 2 years to get a Super Bowl dub. Otherwise, Texas will be the first failed state-only challenge. And I can't have that. I need all victories here. So make sure you subscribe, stick around to see how well we start season 4 by hitting that subscription button either down below or the bear icon on the bottom right hand side of your screen if you're watching on your phone. Also make sure you tap that bell icon to be notified of when my videos go live so you don't miss it. This series posted twice a week, Wednesday and Saturday, with the more traditional Commanders replacement squad on Monday and Thursday. So until next time, with the start of season 4, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
How it's supposed to feel.